Most people believe loud leaders inspire confidence. History suggests something else. The commanders remembered for changing the course of wars rarely spoke the most. They rarely appeared fearless. And they almost never believed victory was guaranteed. That sounds backwards. If confidence wins battles, why did so many confident generals lose everything? Because confidence is often a performance. Fear is often perception. Carl von Clausewitz understood something most people still refuse to accept. The greatest danger is not fear itself. It is believing you have nothing left to fear. Every empire that collapsed first believed it was untouchable. Every company that disappeared once dominated its industry. Every politician who fell believed the crowd would never turn. Failure did not surprise them. It approached while they were busy celebrating certainty. Quiet leaders see something different. They expect resistance before applause. They search for weakness before strength. They prepare for disasters nobody else wants to imagine. To the crowd, this looks like hesitation. To history, it looks like survival. The modern world rewards visibility. Social media rewards certainty. Headlines reward bold predictions. Reality rewards something else. The leader who speaks least often sees the most. The executive who asks uncomfortable questions prevents billion-dollar mistakes. The negotiator who remains silent discovers what confidence hides. Clausewitz never described war as a stage for heroes. He described it as a collision between uncertainty and human judgment. And uncertainty never disappears. It only changes its disguise. The strange truth is this. The leaders who quietly fear failure often command everything. Not because fear weakens them, because it forces them to see what everyone else ignores. Tonight, we uncover why silence became the invisible weapon of history's strongest leaders. And by the end of this video, you may begin to wonder whether the loudest voice in the room is actually the first one destined to lose. Number 1. The fear hidden behind every great commander. Clausewitz believed that no battle unfolds exactly as planned because reality immediately destroys perfect ideas. The map looks clean until the first unexpected movement changes everything. Most people misunderstand this principle because they imagine leadership means eliminating uncertainty. It never does. Great leaders simply develop the discipline to walk through uncertainty without pretending it does not exist. Think about a CAO preparing to launch a revolutionary product. Investors expect confidence. Employees expect certainty. The market expects promises. Yet inside the strategy room, the best executives spend hours discussing every possible way the launch could fail. They question supply chains, consumer behavior, competitors, regulations, even weather. Outsiders mistake this for pessimism. It is actually strategic awareness. Fear becomes a tool instead of a prison. That is why quiet leaders often appear slower than everyone else at the beginning. They are not delaying action. They are removing illusions. While others rush toward opportunity, they quietly remove hidden traps from the path. Ironically, this caution allows them to move faster when the real moment arrives. The crowd calls it luck. History calls it preparation. But preparation alone cannot explain why silence itself becomes such a powerful advantage. Number 2. Silence makes uncertainty speak. People become uncomfortable when nobody fills the silence. Most rush to explain themselves within seconds. They reveal intentions without realizing it. They defend ideas before anyone attacks them. They expose emotional pressure without being asked. Quiet leaders understand something that has little to do with personality and everything to do with observation. Silence changes the flow of information. During high-level negotiations, the individual speaking less often collects more data than the person speaking constantly. In boardrooms, the executive asking one difficult question frequently learns more than the colleague delivering 20 confident answers. Even in politics, history repeatedly shows that public certainty often hides private confusion. Clausewitz described friction as the invisible force that disrupts every plan. Human emotion creates much of that friction. The louder people become, the easier their emotions become to predict. Silence interrupts that pattern. It slows impulsive decisions. It exposes contradictions. It allows reality to reveal itself before ego rewrites the story. This is why experienced commanders sometimes waited longer than their impatient officers could understand. They were not waiting for courage. They were waiting for clarity. And clarity often arrives only after everyone else has exhausted their certainty. Yet silence alone never wins the conflict. The next lesson is even more uncomfortable because it explains why the greatest mistakes are usually born from confidence rather than fear. Number 3. Confidence is often the first casualty of reality. Every conflict begins with two stories. One is the story people tell themselves. The other is the story reality eventually reveals. The distance between those two stories determines who survives. Clausewitz warned that war is shaped by friction because every action produces consequences nobody fully predicts. The same pattern appears far beyond the battlefield. A fast-growing startup believes customers will remain loyal forever until one small innovation changes the market overnight. A political campaign celebrates favorable polls until public sentiment shifts in a single week. An industry giant dismisses a tiny competitor because the numbers seem too small to matter. Confidence creates a dangerous illusion. It convinces intelligent people that tomorrow will resemble yesterday. Fear interrupts that illusion. It forces uncomfortable questions before reality asks them with brutal consequences. Quiet leaders do not fear failure because they lack courage. They fear failure because they understand how quickly success can become obsolete. The stronger the position, the greater the temptation to stop observing. That is why collapse rarely begins with weakness. It begins with certainty. And once certainty blinds perception, another invisible force quietly takes control. Number 4. The enemy you ignore is usually yourself. Most people imagine conflict as a contest against another person. Clausewitz understood that every external battle first passes through the mind of the commander. Panic spreads faster than armies. Pride destroys plans before opponents do. Ego turns information into noise because it only accepts evidence that protects its own identity. Modern organizations repeat this mistake every day. Teams become emotionally attached to strategies they created. Executives defend decisions because changing direction feels like admitting failure. Public figures continue losing arguments long after the facts have changed because retreat appears weaker than persistence. Yet history repeatedly rewards those who abandon bad assumptions before they become irreversible disasters. Quiet leaders separate identity from strategy. They understand that changing a decision does not mean abandoning conviction. It means adapting to reality before reality imposes its own verdict. This flexibility often appears inconsistent to observers. In truth, it is disciplined intelligence. The strongest commanders are not those who never alter their plans. They are those who recognize the exact moment a plan has stopped serving its purpose. That moment is almost invisible. Those who miss it usually discover another uncomfortable lesson. Number 5. Victory can become the most dangerous moment. People prepare carefully before success. Few prepare for what success does to the mind. After one victory comes relief. After repeated victories comes expectation. Then expectation quietly transforms into entitlement. This is where strategic decline begins. Clausewitz understood that momentum is never permanent because every success changes the environment that created it. Competitors adapt. Circumstances evolve. Human behavior responds. The strategy that won yesterday slowly invites failure tomorrow if it remains unchanged. Consider companies that once dominated technology but dismissed emerging trends because their existing model seemed unstoppable. Their greatest asset gradually became their greatest weakness. They no longer questioned themselves because the market had rewarded them for years. Quiet leaders treat every victory as temporary. They celebrate briefly, then return to observation. They ask what invisible weaknesses success has created. They search for the assumptions nobody is challenging anymore. Instead of protecting yesterday's triumph, they prepare for tomorrow's uncertainty. This discipline feels unnecessary while everything is working. Only later does it reveal its value. Because the next challenge does not announce itself with noise. It arrives quietly, disguised as ordinary routine.